At this point, we have all been wondering if George R.R. Martin is ever going to finish The Winds of Winter and finally complete his Game of Thrones book series, because he still has to do The Winds of Winter, and I think summer has to come after that as well. But we are all wondering if he's ever going to finish it. Even though we haven't gotten any updates, but we have gotten some bit of information from somebody who works closely with him as to what exactly is going on there and what is the progress or what was actually happening. So I'm into this article here from Bounding into Comic. George R.R. Martin's co-author reveals shocking truths about House of the Dragon HBO drama and The Winds of Winter. If he dies, fans are out of luck. Well, that doesn't sound promising. In all of fandom, few enigmas are greater than George R.R. Martin and his unfinished A Song of Fire and Ice series. And perhaps no disappointment is deeper than the ending of HBO's Game of Thrones. Yeah, but of people were like, nah, that wouldn't have ended like that, But what happens? Let's see what goes on. The show's finale left a bitter taste for many, sparking endless speculation about the future of the books and Martin's involvement in the television adaptations. In a rare interview, I spoke with someone who might know more about these mysteries than anyone but perhaps Martin himself. This is the author of this article speaking. Um, Elio Garcia, the co-author on The World of Ice and Fire and The Rise of the Dragon, and who along with his wife serves as the series' official fact-checkers and law keepers. Right. So they gone here to talk about it. Garcia revealed a wealth of new information about Martin, the Game of Thrones series, and the current state of the HBO adaptations, including House of the Dragon, the failed pilots, and the drama behind the scenes. Unfortunately for fans, our interview revealed a bit of bad news as Garcia confirmed that what many fans have long suspected regarding the Game of Thrones series planned sixth entry. Martin is struggling with writer's block, which is being compounded by his involvement in the numerous projects and a relatively new perfectionist streak that often stalls progress. I think what's happened more so than sidetracking himself with other building of the details, it's as he's become more and more perfectionist. He writes so much but throws it away in the end because it's a dead end or it doesn't meet what he feels it should be. I think that more than anything has been a problem for him. Well, that's more than anything that has been a problem for him. If he didn't care so much, he could probably just shrug his shoulders about it. Well, it's gone to not like, the man has a perfection. He wants it to be perfect. He wants it to be exactly what it is he wants it to be. I could understand that. I tend to be kind of a perfectionist myself at times, so I could kind of understand that. When asked about the likelihood of the Winds of Winter ever being completed, Garcia didn't sugarcoat his answer, telling me that unfortunately most of the story's roadmap exists only in Martin's head. So if something were to happen to the author, his fans might be out of luck. So you all better hope George R.R. Martin lives forever at this point. So we may never get to this, so let's hope he lives forever. Right? However, there's one notable asterisk to this unfortunate possibility. I think I recall him saying, well, if it was like the Robert Jordan situation, Garcia said, Jordan knew he was sick for quite a while. While he was very sick, he knew it was terminal and arrangements had to be made for someone else to write it. George has indicated that if he knew he had a terminal illness, he would probably try to make arrangements. I know of a couple of writers, one or two, that he has talked about in other contexts who might be able to write adjacent material if he didn't have time to do it. I guess those writers would be the ones he'd approach and say, hey, can you carry this over the finish line? Perfectly honest, I personally wish George R.R. Martin good health, long life, and everything so he could finish the book the way he wants to finish it. Honestly, I think that would be the best thing to do. When I asked Garcia for insight as to what might be holding the author back, he pointed out that the HBO situation surrounding House of the Dragon hasn't gone the way that George R.R. Martin had long hoped, and he is deeply disappointed by how the show has developed. These frustrations were made apparent by the author in a recent and quickly deleted blog post. Now, this is not shocking because there has been talk for quite a while now that George R.R. Martin is not happy with the direction House of the Dragon is going in. Even when it started off, he was actually okay, certain little complaints he had here and there, but as it has progressed, he has not been happy with what has happened in regards to the show. And that seems to be a quickly mounting problem. I continue on. I think he's doing his best, Garcia said. That post about HBO stuff revealed another problem. Things have not necessarily gone the way he wanted with that side of things, and that has been a huge stressor. He then recounted a conversation he had with Martin during this summer's World Science Fiction Convention in Glasgow, where the author discussed his concerns about the direction of House of the Dragon. I had lunch with George at Wilcon in August. He told me he was planning to post about how House of the Dragon. He shared something that he posted and some things he has not, Garcia recall. I suggested, are you sure you want to post about it, George? But he said, yeah, I think his feeling is that things aren't going the way he wants. And he has tried behind the scenes to fix it by talking to the writers and HBO. It hasn't worked. So maybe if he talks about it publicly, they'll take it more serious. And this is a continuing problem. These people in Hollywood don't want to adapt something the way it's supposed to be. They want to change it to make it how they want it to be. It must turn out to be this or the other in order for them to say, well, okay, this is how we want it. Our version of this completely going against what the book is going. This one is the same thing that happened with The Witcher. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Blood Origins is the story that they wanted to tell from the very beginning. That's what happens. They don't like the fact that something has been written. If it has primarily male cast, they don't want to shift it to female, shift it to this, put in all this woke crap as much as they want, and then act like everybody will just sit there and smile from ear to ear with it. No, it doesn't work. It does not work at all. Garcia offered more specifics about Martin's frustrations with HBO. One issue is how showrunner HBO made the proto-romantic relationship of Alicent and Rhaenyra the focus of the story at the expense of other characters. As Martin himself put it, this was a major example of the butterfly effect, which sees key plot lines and characters cut off in such a way that it leads to pivotal moments being diluted. Yeah, yeah. For example, the character Jaceres or Jace Valerian, Rhaenyra's heir, has been sidelined in the show, even though his role is critical in the source material, fire, and blood. I thought it was really important that Jace not be shunted to the side because what happens down the line with him depends on having a strong connection to the character. I don't think a lot of viewers are going to have that connection. Garcia also lamented the reduced presence of Corlys Valerian, played by Steve Toussaint in season 2. Yes, exactly my point. Again, as I say, they have literally put this whole thing with Alicent and Rhaenyra as the main focus of the story, completely leaving out Jace Valerian. And he is important, extremely important, what happens down the road in the source material in fire and blood. So when they decide to change it now, people are not going to have a strong connection to the character of Jace Valerian because you did not build him up. You spent more time trying to push female empowerment rather than actually telling the story the way it's supposed to be told. There is a reason that you started off wanting to take this book series and make it into an actual series to begin with. But you keep leaving that to the wayside to run out there and do some nonsense that is not working. And George R.R. Martin is clearly upset by it, and this is causing him to have problems finishing the very book series that fans have been longing for. But, that's what's been going on. Collis had such a strong presence in the first season. Now he's kind of retreated into the background, and that's sad, Garcia said. He's being sidelined for the same reason that Jace has, because Rhaenyra has become more central to their vision of the story than she is in this part of Fire and Blood. Exactly my point. What I'm saying, they want to push this whole thing about female empowerment, relegating the characters that are actually important to move the story along progressively in the way that it should. And this is the result. This is the result. So when time comes now that there are these characters who are actually essential to what has to happen next actually get promoted, they will have zero gravitas, zero impact, zero actual connection to the audience because you never spent the time building them up. And this is the result of what is happening. Another point of frustration for Garcia is the portrayal of Daemon Targaryen, played by Matt Smith. While Garcia praised the actors and production design, he acknowledged that there is real frustration within the Martin camp about some of the creative choices. However, Garcia clarified that fans shouldn't blame the showrunners, Ryan Condal or Sarah Hess, but rather HBO itself, of course. Continues on, I can promise you, Ryan Condal has absolutely proven his bona fides to me. He's a real fan of the books and has been for a long time. But George is not his boss. HBO is his boss. So some of the issues, some of the differences of opinion have to do with the network pulling the show in different directions. This is what I keep saying. You see it in TV shows, you see it in movies, you see it in comic books, you see it all over. You see it in animation all over the place because these big companies that own these things, right, have been infiltrated by so many activists who tell them, listen, do this because we're telling you this is what people want, even though we have absolutely no idea what anybody wants because we live on Twitter in our own little bubble there, and we take advice from as many bots as possible. But this is what they tell them that they want, and they go out, do it, and they just mess up everything and then walk away and act like, well, I'll go pick up the pieces at that sometime. It doesn't work. Despite these frustrations, there is some good news in the world of George R.R. Martin, as Garcia expressed optimism about the upcoming live-action adaptation of Martin Dunk and Egg short stories, a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. God alone only knows how they're going to mess that up. George was very effusive about it, I was told. He visited the set for several days and told me directly that it was very faithful. He had no concerns about it. He liked it a lot and thought the actors were fantastic. Garcia also shared some behind-the-scenes stories about failed HBO pilot pitches beyond the infamous Blood Moon, which Garcia consulted on. There were some truly wild ideas for Game of Thrones spin-offs that were never made into production. I'm just going to wait and see what happens with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But it is HBO. They're going to find some way to screw it up. But I just say, no, we just hope it could be possible it turns out better. Someone pitched a story about the Seven being an 18 style squad of characters. Another pitch had Aegon the Conqueror as a drunken idiot whose sisters made him look great. I'm glad those didn't happen. Gee, another show where another idea where a man is an idiot and the women are the best thing ever. Yeah, that can possibly be a god. Yeah. The interview covered a wide range of topics from Garcia's favorite Game of Thrones related video game mod to addressing the accusation of racism against him and his wife, but ultimately it concluded with my guest reflecting on his hopes for not just the Winds of Winter, but also the rest of A Song of Ice and Fire series. George is trying as best he can with all the other things floating around in the Game of Thrones universe. A day doesn't go by where I don't think about these books. I spent 25, 26 years talking about them. I've received tens of thousands of hours of entertainment from this series. I hope I'll get even more. But if I don't, it's given me so much, and I think a lot of fans feel the same way. Yeah, Game of Thrones, fun series, enjoyable, and all of this. But I mean, we all are wondering if George R.R. Martin is ever going to finish these books. But he is having some issues with HBO and House of the Dragon. So we're gonna see how that works out. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is coming up. We'll see how that works out as well. But I, for one, really do hope that George R.R. Martin does eventually get to finish his books so that fans can get to read them and maybe we could get a proper adaptation of an ending rather than whatever in God's name that thing was that they did with Game of Thrones. But we shall see. That's the update that we have for right now. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like it, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.